Hello everybody, and welcome back to Open Source Tonight. In today's program, I'm going to be showing you how to set up the Nginx Proxy Manager. It's a really nice piece of software that I use every day on my home server and in production environments. Let's go take a look. Alright, so we're looking over here right now at my terminal, and I'm going to show you what you need to do here. So we're going to be using root a lot. So I'm just going to do sudo su space dash. Now, I've already done this in the last few minutes, so I don't get prompted for a password. You will. So you'll need to enter your password at that point. And needless to say, you'll need to actually have an account that has root access via sudo to do this. So we're going to be doing this on Debian 12, and we're going to use Docker. So this is the compose file. But I just want to show you real quick. If you want to install Docker, you're going to run these commands. I can show you these, but I've already run them. And you'll run all of these. Then you're going to come down here and you're going to run this. And then you need to just run this quick install command. These will be linked on the Open Source Tonight website. But then once you've done all that, we will be good to go. I think you also need to reboot after you run those commands, but I didn't check that. So just reboot. It never hurts to do it every once in a while anyway. So let's make a folder under our home directory as root, or you can put it wherever you want really, but that's what I usually do. And then I'm just going to call it nginx-test. I actually have an existing one that's a production one for my home server in this. So there we go. You can see we just got a blank folder right now. So what I'm going to do now is copy this right here. I'm going to make, you can do docker-compose, or you can just use compose.yml. I like to use compose most of the time and just save it. Now, you can change these ports, but you really want port 80 and 443 to be the real ports here. Okay, and then you've got port 81. So this will do HTTP and HTTPS. And so we can do that. And so I'm going to exit out of that. And now, if I do docker space compose space up, and I hit enter, you're going to see it's going to run along here and get everything all set up for me. And in a minute, I'll show you how to log in. So while we're waiting for this to do this, the idea of this is it makes it easy for you to have SSL, and you can proxy all these different services on your network and do it very easily. And now we should be able to log in. So if I go 127.0, if I do 127.0.1:81 and I hit enter, you can see right here I'm being prompted. We'll make this a little bigger for everybody, but I'm being prompted for a login, and the login is admin@example.com. Okay, and your password is change me. I think I just typed that wrong. There we go. And once you get logged in, you're going to get this screen. So let's just change it real quick here. My full name is Vincent Maggard. My nickname, will just call me Vince. And I'm going to put in my email. Okay. Hit save. And now I'm going to change my password too. So I'm going to do change me as the current. And now I can do something a little more secure like this. But, you know, this is just a home demo here that I'm going to get rid of in a few minutes. So we really don't need any security. It's not on the internet. So I'm going to just, and you can see it doesn't like that. So let's try that. Hold on. Still not a very secure password. I bet I put in, my brain does not type change me right for some reason. There we go. And so now I've created my account. And so we can go to the dashboard. So if we want to proxy something, we can talk about that. And I will show you that here in a minute. So let's say we have a web service that we want to be able to run from within our system, right? If you want to do that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to have a server that actually accomplishes that. So with like a lot of applications out here, you'll see that they will have their own server. So I'm just going to show you a really bad example of this real quick. This is not necessarily production ready, what I'm about to show. But let's just say that I open a new tab in my terminal. We don't actually need to do this as root, but why not? There we go. I'm going to just call this flash-test. But this would be representative of whatever application that you are using. And you really don't have to understand what I'm showing you here. This is just showing you. Oh, I almost forgot. I need to do... Again, you don't have to understand what I'm doing here. I'm just setting up a web service that we can have forwarded through our proxy manager here in a minute so you can understand how this works. So here we go. And now I can do pip install Flask. Again, you don't have to understand what I'm doing here. But I'm going to just come in here real quick and very simply just take their example, slightly tweak it for what we're doing. And again, this is not the way you're supposed to do this in production, so don't take this part of the tutorial as a tutorial because it's not. All right. And I'm going to just come down here and I'm going to add app run host colon or equal sign here. Again, this is not the way you run a Flask app, but we don't need to think about that right now. And now, but if I just go and I run that, I have got a new application. If I open it, it just says hello world. That's all it does. So we're going to actually forward this. So zoom that back out here. So we're going to actually forward this. So the way we do that, there we go. The way we actually do it, we're going to go here where it says on our home page, now that we've just logged in, I'm going to go to the proxies here and hit add proxy host. The domain name is what you're going to type in. So I'm going to just do testing.vincentmaggard.com. And now we need to actually handle the forwarding. So this is what the customer, the client, you would not see, is this back end part. And generally, you could even lock it down to where it's only on the local host. So this is actually a bad example because I've got it set to go everywhere. But I could actually remove that host and then it would have to be on local host, which would be fine for this actually. But anyway, so we've got our example service here. And so I'm going to hit save now. And just like that, I have one of these. But now let's go ahead real quick and edit etc/hosts. And I'm going to put in a quick IP address here, and then of 127.0.1 because I'm on the same box, and then I'm going to punch in that domain I was using. Now, if you're using the domain and it's public facing or something, you could just do it actually at the DNS level, or I have a DNS server for my network, so I actually could do it that way, but I'm showing you how to do it without that. And I'm going to restart that service now. And now if I go to testing.vincentmaggard.com, we get a bad gateway error. Okay, what did I do here? Yeah, that's right. Huh. Well, bad gateway. So this is up. Interesting. I wonder, did I typo this? Hold on. Status online. You can disable these too. Let's try that. This is an example of troubleshooting. So yeah, if I disable it, we get that. And you can change that screen as well. All right, I'll troubleshoot this offline and come back to it. A few thousand frames later. All right, so I have set up the IP address. I forgot where it's in the container. I can't use the 127 dot because it would be separate. So that's what I was doing wrong. So if you look now, if I go to testing.vincentmaggard.com, I get hello world, right? But what if we wanted to do this at the actual with TLS? Well, what you'd have to do is we would need to set up a port forward in our router. So I'm going to show you that on mine. Yours will be different. You'll actually have to own a domain. Up until now, you could have just came up with an example one. So I'm going to come in here, and again, different routers are different, so I'm not really showing you anything. But like here you can see I have this port forward. I'm going to blur some of this out for reasons, obviously, but I can see I have a port forward here to the IP address of the server, the internal IP of the server, which you will need to get with the IP space AADDR command. And you're looking for something that's like 192 or .10 or something like that. So example, if I go up here enough, I have a lot of Nginx in here and virtual Nginx and stuff because I do Docker and different things on this box. But here it is. This is its actual IP. I already knew that because I set it statically. But if you didn't know that, that is how you'd find out. So now you'll need to set up now that you've got the port forwarding, you'll need to actually set up your DNS on your domain to be, and the domain you own pointed to the IP. Once you've set that up, you'll put an A record in, or an AAA record if it's IPv6 for the right IPs. You really should do both. You got both. And then we can go in here, and I'll show you in a minute how we can request a cert. So let me just update testing@vincentmanger.com to point to my public IP real quick. Again, you'll have to check with your provider on how to do that. A few thousand frames later. Our adding a cert is easy. We're just going to go under SSL certs, click add one, and then let's type in a domain. At this point, it needs to be port forwarded like I showed, and you need to make sure you have the domain. At this point, not only that, but you need the domain pointing at that IP. You need to agree to the terms of service. You can put this email in here for Let's Encrypt, and I'm going to click the Save button. And now in a moment, we're going to have a cert on the server. You can have it set to automatically request these as they're about to expire, so that's very nice. And just like that, we have a cert. Now, it says inactive because we haven't assigned it to a host yet. So we go up to the tab where it says hosts, proxy hosts, and then I come over here to these three dots on the side, and I click that and click edit. And then under there, I go SSL. I can change to do... I can actually request the cert right here, or we can just say request a new cert with SSL. And I think if you do it this way, then it will actually automatically do the renewal, I think. So if we do that, I'm going to go ahead and save and give it just a moment. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. You can see the status is online, and it's got Let's Encrypt there. I'm going to turn this Force SSL back on. That way it has to be TLS. And just like that, we now have TLS to our web application if you need that. The only other thing I'm really going to show you just a little bit of is we can do the access lists. So I can come in here, and I could say... let's just call it allowed, and I'm going to come in here and we can do a login, so it can be admin. You can actually do more than one of these, so it could be like admin, user, and I can click save. All right, now I can come back over here to the hosts. I can go to the three dots and click edit. And now I can go down here and change the access list from publicly accessible to allowed and click save. So now if I hit that, it's going to make me log in. If you go to the server and you do not have a domain that's in the server that it's proxying, then this is what this default site setting does under settings. So I'll show you the default. This is what the default looks like. I don't like this. I generally... we'll change that, so I'm going to go here and edit. We can do 404, we can do no response, we can do a redirect, we can do a custom page, and you can put some HTML on it. This is what I like to do, just put like an actual error. But you could do like a 404. So if I save that and I reload this page, now you can see it says 404, not found, so you've got options. But again, if we did like a custom page, I could do H1. This isn't a valid site, right? And hold on here. This isn't a valid site. If you think this is an error, email Vince, please. Right? And then I could do line break. Thanks. And now, if we come back, we'll get a custom page. This isn't a valid site. If you think this is an error, email Vince, please. Thanks. Not perfect phrasing there and stuff, but whatever. Well, everybody, hope you enjoyed learning how to set up and the basics of the Nginx Proxy Manager software. For more information, check out opensourcetonight.com. Thanks for watching, and goodbye, everybody.
And action.